Can the chair read under the rules?
All right. We're recording in video and audio.
Motion,
No.
Yeah, it's
Christine,
bad.
right, but
Christine, we're starting.
Yeah, you were sharing.
yeah, that's here, okay.
Okay. It's Wednesday, the 22nd of February, it's 2:35, and we're calling meeting to order. The first thing on the agenda would be to approve the minutes of the meetings of December 7th and January 31st of 2023, December 7th, 2022, January 31st. 2020. Can I get an individual? Given that
December 7th, is that what you just said?
December 7th, 2022, and January.
I have,
Yeah.
my memory is the following. I chaired the meeting of January 31st. And I didn't believe that the chair could make a motion. So I asked for a motion to approve the form that we were on. I asked for a motion. And you were the only one there, Kevin, so you, for the use of the Massachusetts Appellate Tax Board 3-year,
Yeah.
And my memory is you agreed to give the motion.
Yes.
I seconded it,
Okay,
or else I asked you on the phone to second it. I think I actually asked. I
Yeah, I
think,
Kevin made the motion.
so if you, I think what's accurate.
I watched it. It was a little hard to follow. Okay.
It was,
Yeah.
because it got month,
Okay,
and I think
I think she's right. I think I did actually make the motion at her request.
Kevin made the
where
motion.
it was at my request.
Okay.
I did all the words.
I can change
Okay.
it. Okay,
And I think possibly Rich seconded, that would have been most appropriate. But I don't know if Rich was still, I just don't remember. You were still on, he would have probably seconded it, just for accuracy's sake.
okay, I can change that.
I think because of these, Kevin, if you would make two motions, one for January 31 and one for the December meeting, please.
Motion to approve the minutes of the Board of Assessors meeting for the town of Lunenburg, December 7th, 2022.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to approve the minutes of the Board of Assessors meeting for the town of Lunenburg on January 31st, 2023, pending the changes that have already been discussed in the last few minutes.
second,
Before we do that, Sheila, can you just give us a quick synopsis of the changes? I know it's very, very minor, but
So
it's a matter of who's doing the seconding and who's doing the.
the
making
January
motion.
31st minutes, pretty much near the bottom, Christine made a motion to approve the use of the appellate tax board 3-year average worksheet. And Kevin second in favor, so we're changing it to Kevin made the motion
Mhm.
to approve and Rich seconded the motion.
Okay, all in favor?
aye.
The next motion is actually for us to go into executive session. And not to return to open session, the open session after existing executive session has completed. The reason is to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property.
I think she has a request to speak.
Oh, I'm sorry. Franklin.
He said that they would.
Phyllis, can you, this is what, can you?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
He said that it would be-
Yeah, yes,
When will that be?
right now. After we finish after we get we approve both the meetings, the last two meetings. And we're gonna have public comment for about 20 minutes. And I was gonna try to limit it to 3 or 4 minutes per person.
Great.
I'm sorry, Carl. Yeah, okay, well, correct. Yes, Mr.
So, I don't know, like. I have several questions. I think that lots of people have. When will the Board of Assessors hold a public meeting where the abatement process will be made known? My first question.
Well, that's a good question. To my knowledge, the review has not yet begun. It's not going to be done by the by the assessors here. We're hoping to get an independent group, and correct me if I'm wrong, please. An independent group of assessors to review the work that has been done here. And when is it going to be done? I think it's up, right now it's with the, not the Board of Selectmen, but with the town manager.
So the town manager is the person we should ask.
Yeah, there is a, I believe, what did you call it? Their RFP out looking to hire independent assessors for that purpose. We haven't had any hired in that I'm aware of unless that's changed.
No, they extended.
So who determines what the process will be?
I don't believe it's us. I think it's going to be the town manager.
The town manager.
And in concert with the independent assessors.
The town manager will determine the process.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess the next question is, when do you anticipate the inspections for the abatement applications will begin?
Good question.
That's probably going to be largely dependent upon when we get the outside assessors hired. We're still waiting on, again, this is being routed through the town manager, but we have not yet had any outside assessors hired for the purposes of doing those inspections. So until we have that information on when they'll be ready to hit the ground, we're not sure what the answer to that question is.
Don't we have in-house staff that could get started?
The investigation committee's asked us not to do that.
Why? You didn't ask why?
They want to keep it independent.
It's an investigation committee. You have to ask them.
Okay, the investigation committee asked you not to start.
On lakefront properties.
Oh, so you have started on non-lakefront properties?
Yes.
The lakefront properties have been basically declared off.
Will the applicant be able to attend a hearing to defend their justification for an abatement?
I would imagine so. Yeah.
What?
No,
No,
Can I rewind that for a second? As far as I knew, all abatements had to be done in executive session. And the opportunity for a hearing would actually have to be done at the,
afterwards, yeah.
right,
Okay, well, I was
afterwards, at the state,
Appellate tax board?
thank you, I couldn't remember the
No,
term.
I would suggest that that issue really still hasn't been established.
Well, I think, isn't there another step in between the local abatement and the ATV?
You'd hope so.
you're asking if
I beg your
in,
pardon?
in between a real estate abatement and the appellate tax board
Right.
case? No, if you don't like the town's decision, the Board of Assessors decision, then you file with the ATV.
Okay, all right.
But my question was, will we be able to attend a hearing to defend our justification for an abatement before you make the decision?
It really
Yeah.
has not been
I think
established.
this,
By law, only a select few people are able to review the abatements within executive session. So no,
All abatements have to be reviewed in executive session?
yes,
Yes,
But that
they're
doesn't,
confidential until they're voted
but
on.
that doesn't include the person who asked for the abatement to be present in the executive session. It's their information.
I didn't get to,
I said, I don't think executive, even if executive session is appropriate, I don't believe that that precludes, keeps the person who's requested the abatement from attending the executive session to explain their position. Is that what we're being told by the assessor? That the applicant cannot attend the hearing?
That's not up to me, that's up to the board.
But you just said it wasn't possible.
I,
Oh, so
I,
it is up to the board.
yeah, I let them know what the law was.
my understanding, and I might be wrong, is that the abatement would be decided, and then the the applicant would come in and discuss that abatement. And then it would be redecided. No,
Rich, I really think that the three of us have to discuss the issue before you answer Phyllis's question. I've kind of said that 3 times, but I'm gonna say it again. It hasn't been established. You just got home, you just got back. We haven't had a meeting to discuss, and Phyllis's question came up
During-
at the 31st, whatever. it
January
was, The 31st. I mean, but it wasn't established then.
I think I'm really looking at the way we've done abatements in the past.
But you don't have it, I mean, when are you gonna have a meeting so that you can discuss this?
What I know is that hasn't been established. This situation is certainly far more complicated than a handful of abatements in the past. So the 3 of us. Okay, and we haven't had an executive session meeting until right now. I mean,
But you wouldn't have to, you wouldn't need an executive session to discuss this.
no, but we haven't been together since the January 31st meeting. I think.
Yeah, you and I had December 7th, before that, it would have been the December 7th meeting.
Yeah,
So I guess my question becomes, when will the Board of Assessors have the meeting to determine
the
the
procedures.
procedures for the abatement process, a public
Well,
meeting?
we'll probably try to talk about that today.
But when will you talk about it in public?
Uh,
I mean, it doesn't seem like that's an executive session.
Yeah, a lot of this, we're in new territory here, Phyllis, and a lot of us are really not. We may have questions for the legal team. What can we do? I mean, as it is, a lot of it has been taken out of our hands
By the town
by
manager?
the town manager, yeah.
So you don't know what the process is. You don't know when you're gonna determine the process, and you don't know if it's gonna be in a public meeting. Do I understand that?
I think, yes, I think you're right.
Okay. I guess,
We're in the dark, not quite as much as you are, but we're in the dark too.
not good. And my last question is, how did the town get itself into this very costly predicament?
Well, the assessments were made.
But who looked at the assessments? I mean, 135% tax increase on waterfront land. I mean,
Well,
didn't that cause any, the tax rate went down 25%. Didn't that cause some concern about, well, what does that mean? Who's, if the tax rate is going down, somebody's taxes are going up. I mean, didn't anyone, last night at the selectmen's meeting, the chair said nobody knew till January 1st. Nobody thought to ask the brand new assessor who's only been here since March what the results were of his assessments before the bills went out. I mean, I just
We're
don't
looking at
understand.
generalities too. You're looking at a decrease in the town's tax rate.
Mhm.
Okay. and-
Of 25%.
An increase in basically the overall taxable property in accordance with DOR regulations, in accordance with DOR whatever rules, procedures. That's the word you're looking for. And that's where, we don't look at every single one.
It just seems like it's such a calamity. And it seems like there's nothing that can be done to reverse it. Seems like too important a decision to have been taken so lightly.
I will tell you what I think has been decided partly by us, partly by the Board of Selectmen. There are 2 aspects of the problem that have been in front of our nose for a month or whatever it is. And the 2 aspects are what caused it what's the history of it, that whole thing. The second part is getting the abatements done, fixing whatever can be fixed,
Mhm.
and then letting people go forward. The people who are dealing with the first part, which is the history, all of your questions, which are more than reasonable, is the inspection people, who is Michael Ray, Heather, and a third person whom I forgot.
Tom Alonso, you mean the
Yes.
investigation people?
And they're dealing with the what happened, why did it happen? Who did what, to be truthful,
Mm.
who didn't do what?
Mhm.
What was the timing of it all? And we're doing, let's get the show on the road.
Right, right,
And
right.
so it's your questions, while very relevant, aren't for us. They're much more for Michael Ray. Now, I felt his first statement was excellent. It was well written. It was precise. And I'm anticipating that his second, and if there's a third, will be similar.
Well, the second one wasn't.
Where? I got the paper.
What happened last night?
Oh, okay, thank you. I saw it. I'll get it. Or whatever.
It was disappointing.
Okay, but just so I can know, is there a third?
Yeah,
Did he
March
say-
7th, there'll be another report.
So I'm sorry, but I don't, it's not up to, your questions are not really up to us. The committee is interviewing us. The investigating.
Once we
Right.
get more information, then we can set some procedures. But at this point in time, our hands are sort of tied.
Hired by the town manager. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your listening and trying to answer the questions.
Next.
That's
Carl Lutton, Sunset Lane.
only one person per family.
You didn't hear about our separation. Carl Luck, 50 Sunset Lane, and I understand, appreciate what you just said, and right, wrong, or indifferent, agree or disagree. I understand
is.
this is the way it
It
is.
is what
The
it is.
investigation is over here,
That's right.
and the process keeps going over here with the abatements, which is the reason for the questions. How's this going to work, and are we going to be able to participate?
And if I understand it right, the process can't even begin. Although I read abatements just to familiarize myself with the situation. We can't even start until there's some outside group, if I understand it correctly, which CJ is more knowledgeable, but so
Because it wasn't my, I'll
anyway.
get to my comment, but to that point, I just want to go on record as taking strong objection, and I'm going to look into how the Board of Selectmen or the town manager can direct this board to not start doing inspections. That's news to me, that you've been directed that you're not able to do inspections on lakefront property, and yet the time period is going to run out. That to me sounds should be illegal, but we'll see.
Well,
My comment, though, it more relates to what I sent a couple emails to the board before. Upon seeing the agenda containing an executive session today. And the reason in the objection was the reason 6 of the open meeting law, and which you just read. So, but I will read it again. To consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property if the chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body. That's the section of the open meeting law that you are using today to have an executive session. There is not enough detail in that to understand what the executive session is. I don't think that statement alone meets the requirements of open meeting law to go into executive session. So I presume that there's going to be more explanation about what is the executive session about, what property is being discussed.
We can't disclose
What-
that. It's confidential, open.
I wish you'd let me finish my comment.
Sorry,
Thank you.
go ahead.
Which property is going to be discussed? Because that, I believe, is a requirement of open meeting law, that the public understand what the subject is. Not anything that would compromise any negotiation. It's all about negotiation. So there has to be a justification of why more information can't be released without affecting negotiation. So my questions that I hope will be answered before you go into executive session and violate open meeting law is what property is to be discussed that does not in any way compromise negotiations of property, lease, or value. Who are you negotiating with? Who is it? What is the negotiation that's about to be take place? I don't believe if you're purchasing land, then I understand. You're going to negotiate with the seller. If there's no land involved here or purchases or leases, who is the negotiation with? If there's no negotiation identified, then how can that possibly be a justification for keeping this discussion away from the public? It's a very big issue. And I hope when you make the motion, a little more detail will be justifying your reason for going open session. Because I can assure you, if there isn't any more than is in the agenda and any more specificity about who is the negotiating party that you're worried about, then I guarantee you there will be an open meeting law violation filed and the state will get involved. So my last comment is, if you do proceed, which you certainly can, I can't stop anything. If you do proceed, you had best record, not for the public, but record your session because it will be challenged. And I expect, as usual, the town lawyer will find a way to say it's not a violation. And then it will go to the attorney general's. And I'm pretty sure the attorney general is going to want to know exactly what was discussed in that session so that it can be determined, was it a justifiable executive session or was it in violation? So I please encourage you, consider knowing what you're going to discuss in your mind. Can you actually defend that this is executive session material, that there is a negotiation upcoming, that hopefully not with me as the taxpayer with the baby, because that's not a negotiation. It's my understanding. It's your ruling. So there is no negotiation there. If that's what this is about, is assessments, then I honestly believe it would be in violation to have that discussion in executive session. And I would urge you to be very cautious about using that executive session. And if there is any question in your mind, I would urge you to not have the executive session and to meet with counsel, discuss with them what you're intending to do and why you're intending to do it, and make sure that if it doesn't fit under number 6, maybe it fits under some other category. I don't know. It's 10 or more of them. And maybe it does fit under some category. But I strongly believe that if it's about assessments at all, that's the negotiation and that's the real value that was highlighted in the agenda. If that's the subject, I think you're going to have a serious problem using Section 6 of the open meeting law as a justification for keeping whatever you're talking about away from the public. Thank you. Sorry for getting so extended.
Any other public comment?
Yeah, how you doing? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, I have my hand up there. I don't know if you can see it or not. My name is Dave McDonald at 155 Island Road in Lunenburg. And I have a couple of questions and you just created some more questions. The select board has made it known that they have not responsibility. They have no responsibility. You are your own independent board. Now you're saying us that the select board is telling you what to do. So I like to clarify that. And again, I appreciate you guys taking questions today. But who is the boss? Is it you guys or is it the select board?
I believe in this case, they're taking jurisdiction because of an independence issue. In a normal abatement, we would take into account what the taxpayer is saying, but here we're the ones that the assessors are the ones who set the valuation, and it's a little bit like auditing your own books. And so that what they want is an independent nose into this particular process. That's the reason why the select board and the town manager have stepped in.
Mr. Chair, how long have you been on this board?
7 or 8 years. Why?
I'm just asking for experience. What's happening? One of the concerns that I have is, are you all in agreement with the new tax rates that went out? Do you agree with that?
What tax rates are you talking about?
the tax bills, all the bills that got out, are you guys agree that that's correct and there's no errors?
We have not, or I haven't looked at individual tax bills. It's my understanding that the assessments were done in accordance with the Department of Revenue rules and regulations.
So my question is, are you in agreement that when waterfront properties got 135% increase on their properties, an average of $4,500 increase in their bills, yet commercial properties like Walmart went down $35,000? Unitel, who we all love, we just gave them a discount of $12,000. Are you guys aware of that?
Not specifically.
Okay, so how do you expect citizens to feel when commercial properties took a decrease? And here on the lakes, everyone is trying to compare people on the lakes that we're bad. We pay our bills, just like everybody in town. We never try to get a discount, and people say, well, we've been undervalued. Well, that's not our fault. It's not the fault of anybody in town. If the assessors are wrong or the assessments, then fine. But 135%, has anybody, and again, Mr. Chair, I have a lot of respect for you. Has anybody seen 135% increase in 1 year? Now, I want to take the average person who's living at home, and if they open up their bill in January, which, by the way, we didn't get our bills until January 14th, so that only gave a couple of weeks. But if anybody sees their bills and sees a $5,000 per year increase, would you be upset?
But there might be a reason, and you said it a minute ago, that in reality, a lot of the town has been subsidizing the lakes for a long time. And the lakes, the fair market value of the lake properties have gone up everywhere. And frankly, we've been behind the ball, and we've just, unfortunately, we caught up all at once. And I apologize for that.
But again, if you take a look at the new tax rates now for Lunenburg, and if you take a look at any other lake community, we're the highest in the state for taxes. I'm on the streets and people are literally laughing at the problem that's going on here. It is not a fair solution. I think you have to take a look at it. I wish the chair of the select board would do an investigation on what CJ's homework was. That's all you have to do. Is it correct? And it can be corrected. We don't have to go into this big, huge investigation. We just got to find out how they came up with that solution. And a lot of times, Mr. Chair, as you know, you don't have to go 135% at one time. You don't have to do it all in one load. You could do it a couple of times. But the other thing that compounded it was a lot of people couldn't even go file for the abatement because they didn't get their bills until the middle of the month. And that only gave people 2 weeks to file for an abatement. It's just not fair what happened. There's a lot of people that are going to have to sell now. And they couldn't even afford that. You had to pay your bill up front before you could file an abatement. Nobody knew they were going to get a $5,000 tax bill that they had to pay. That's just not right. I'm hoping that you as a chair and the committee look at this and say, wow, did we make a mistake as far as the distribution? Walmart should not have gotten a discount. Condominiums should not have gotten a discount. Unitel definitely shouldn't have got a discount, but that's what happened. And I think that's why a lot of people were upset. So, Mr. Chair, I thank you for your time.
I thank you for your opinion. Thank you.
Have a good day, guys.
Mr. Chair, I just want to let you know if who's ever like hosting the meeting on Zoom, I'm getting texts that there's a couple people trying to get in or one person trying to get in. So if you could just let them in, that's all.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Lou.
Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Hello?
Hello? No?
Hello?
Hello?
Can you hear us?
I can, we're in all sorts of troubles. I was listening earlier and I got cut out. I don't know why. Am I free to talk, Christine or Rich? This is John Rabbit, excuse me.
Oh, hi, Jack. Go ahead.
Hey, Rich. Hey, just a quick thing. Earlier I'd heard that essentially you were being mandated what you could do and could not do with regard to this assessment by the town manager, and for that matter, this investigative committee. And I would disagree with their positions in that, I went back and just checked the town charter, and I've checked it a few different times. And, obviously you're elected officials, 3 years. Your powers and duties of the board shall annually make a fair cash valuation of all real estate, real property, and personal subject to the taxation within the town. It shall annually determine the rate of taxation to apply against the property in the town based on such valuations and such sums as may be authorized to be expended by the town meeting in consideration for other income and expenses. The town board shall have other powers and duties which are given to boards or assessors by general law. And then for that matter, the appointment of the principal assessor by the town manager shall become effective on the 15th of the day on which the notice of appointment is filled with the Board of Assessors, unless the Board of Assessors shall, within that period of time, by a majority vote of its all members, reject such appointment or sooner voted. So you have the hiring and firing capabilities with regard to your key assessor, but you're also an elected independent board. So I don't understand why, if somebody from the selectmen's board or even the town manager has asked you to stop that process, why wouldn't you continue as best you can versus being kind of locked down as you have? And then I have another question, if I could, but this is just, for me, it's, you guys are in charge. You're elected. They're insulated. From what I read of the job description of the town manager, they handle primarily the, if it's a factory, they're the factory managers, but you're marketing and sales and you charge people. And you send out the bills and Heather collects the bills. So I think there's delineation, and you folks have a lot more stroke than you might think or seem to be exhibiting. And I'm wondering why you haven't just come out and taken control of this and worked around the investigative committee. I don't see how an outside committee initiated by the selectmen can stop what you are doing. Am I wrong in reading this?
The real thing is, Jack, is that they want to make it independent. They don't want us auditing our own books. And that's essentially what it is.
But the law says that you will.
Well, maybe it's a point for discussion, but at this point, we're going along with the town manager.
Okay, I hear you. I just think that you're more independent than you think. Hey, the other question, and CJ, if you could, I have a list of only, well, at first it was 9, only 8 homes that you used in the comparison, in terms of making your analysis. And I've done an analysis, and I'm understanding that we're more than the 9. There were 14 of them, CJ?
Just the 9 inside index 1.
Just the 9. Okay, and so I've segmented them out, and I'm having a really hard time, especially with the matched sampling. It says you can only really have one variable that's different. And in all of those cases, they're all different. So I'd be interested to hear how you were able to come up with that number or that process, if you're free to share it and such, because I've done the matrix and I've gone through all the other analyses that would go along with that, and I just can't make it work. So would it be possible for you to share that? I mean, share what you've done, your numbers and such?
I've been asked not to discuss that because the investigation is going to bring in some other assessors, professional assessors, to make sure that it was done properly.
Right.
So I've been asked not to discuss.
We've pulled the trigger though, right? And we went ahead and done that. So you can ask not to be discuss any further. I'm just having a really hard time making that work. And additionally, I have a whole pile of other questions, but I know I'm limited to 3 minutes. So I think I'm limited to 3 minutes. Is that correct? Are you guys in executive session now already?
No, we're not.
No, we're not in executive session. Currently.
Okay. Can I send you that list and give you guys a chance to talk about it? Because there's a lot of pieces that go along with what has happened over the last, 4 or 5 years. And CJ, you just walked into a big hornet's nest, and because a lot of these activities occurred prior to yourself, as for that matter, even that some of the, the new board members. So could I send you the list, and could you briefly comment back on that? And so I can finish my analysis. And I've got about a 40-page analysis built so far on all the issues and the legal pieces. And it sure would be helpful if I can get something back from you folks. Otherwise, like nature abhors a vacuum. They'll go and make up their own answers. So that's where I am.
Okay,
So
thank you, Mr. Rabbit.
would that be possible? Do you want to try and answer some of the questions now?
No, you
Probably
can send
not.
any questions you have along and include the investigation committee, because I've been directed to only.
Send everything to the investigation committee? Okay.
Yep, you can include me. If you'd like.
I can CC you as well, and Rich, I'll CC you and
Okay.
send you those kinds of questions, and maybe you can help us there. And okay, well, thank you, and Rich, I'm glad I'm not on that board, but I really like you guys, so don't keep going, don't quit on us. Okay, we'll see you soon. Well, thank you for
Bye, Jack.
Yes, thanks, Jack.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, there is one more. I hope it's,
Alex?
Alex, you should decide how many questioners
Yeah.
beyond
Oh,
Alex.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, Alex,
Alex?
I think Alex will be the last
Are
one.
you there?
Are you there?
Alex, can you
Didn't
hear
ha-
us?
I didn't have a question.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That would be the end of the question and answers.
I think
So
that is.
let's
I don't think
consider on with the regular meeting. And which.
Mr. Chair, can I just make one quick comment? I'm sorry. That's Dave McDonald on Island Road again.
Go ahead, Dave.
The question I got for you is, and this is a tough question to ask, but the way we see it under the Massachusetts code, and I was very impressed at the meeting that you had at the high school when I think it was your board said, if there's a problem, we're going to correct it. And then we didn't hear from you. And that was from the 17th. But are you aware that if you have made a mistake and a mathematical mistake, that you can go back to the DOR and make the changes, but only you three can do that? Is that correct? Are you aware of that? Has anybody advised you of that?
No, but that seems logical, Dave.
Yeah.
If we found a mistake and we have questions, CJ, and I think I've said a couple of times, each answer he gives is precise and is dependent on data, but so we do understand that we're the only ones that can further that, any kind of information like that to Boston.
Okay, so that's good to know, because if there is an error, and that's why I would recommend that we take CJ out of the environment and get another outside auditor to see if there was a mistake, as we explained a little while ago. Because if there was an error, we can still correct this. It's running out of time though. But you can save the town, millions of dollars by doing that.
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah.
Maybe you could speak to Heather about whether she wants to hire someone to review CJ's work, because,
But
okay,
again, your board and responsibility to do that, not Heather's. You guys have a lot of authority. I want you to know that, and you have a lot of support, but you got to grab that authority. You can't let someone come in and tell you what to do. You guys are the authoritative figures in town right now. And again, I thank you guys. And if I could do anything to help you, please give me a call, reach out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else? I think that would be the last public comment. Do I need a motion for that?
No.
No, okay.
You're the boss.
Okay, so we're done with public comment.
Mhm.
So now we have a motion to consider to go into executive session. And I would to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of property. If the chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body. A very general statement, but I'd like a motion to approve or disapprove that.
I'm going to ask a comment question more than anything is. Do we want to give any additional information in terms of what we'll be covering in that executive session in general terms, or?
We need a motion.
At this
on-
point, we don't
so,
know.
well, just if we keep to Robert's rules of order a little, we just need the motion on the floor
Okay,
before we discuss your good point.
then, so I'll just say so moved on.
And I'll say so.
You all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So motion is on the table. Now we
I
can
think
make,
that was, you're right up to then. Just approve the motion.
no, he made the
You
motion.
made the motion, you seconded it,
Uh,
and then you. put a
I
vote
thought we were seconding, putting it on
to
the table.
Not voting,
We haven't voted on the motion yet. We are not in
Oh, okay,
executive
I
session yet.
misunderstood.
but you have to vote,
Right.
so you need to undo that. and we'll
Yeah,
put it on
thank
the
you.
table.
Thank you, Carl. I think Carl is right. Right? We got the motion on the table
Right.
and then you said
Then-
all those in favor, but you know. There,
Motion to reverse,
reconsider,
to reconsider
okay.
the motion.
thank you. No, for sure.
They say, is there any discussion?
It just happened too fast. Great.
Is there?
Thank you.
Referring to my earlier question is there anything we can say as far as explicating on what we're going to discuss in the executive session in general terms without getting into any sensitive areas to possibly satisfy this gentleman's concerns with regards to moving into executive session?
I really don't know. We're going into executive session and to probably try to determine, I think I don't know the answer to that, Kevin. Can you help? Can you help us, CJ?
I can tell you that what we're going to discuss is abatement and exemption applications. That's what will be discussed.
Okay. Is that?
That's the information that I wanted to confirm. I was pretty.
That's what I thought too, okay.
No point of order, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for doing that, because that was the expectation of everybody in the world. I want to formally challenge that is a valid reason to have an executive session. So you know before you vote that it will be challenged, because I do not believe discussing abatements and the process and so forth is a valid reason for executive session.
Yeah, I really have to hear a little more discussion also. My understanding for an executive session is that there might be, and discussing the general process of abatements might come under this, but it generally is called, you call an executive session when there's private privileged information that might be detrimental to somebody, might be too personal, might involve their salary, their house, the financials on their house that are not on the cards, which are. Okay, so I'd like to hear any discussion of what about abatements and CJ, what was the second thing? Abatements and
Exemptions.
exemptions. Exemptions always have, well, if we're discussing specific exemptions, they almost always have personal information. But I'm not sure on abatements, if you could just instruct us as to what kind of information might be included in a discussion of abatements that would be either too personal or it wouldn't be wise to just make it public.
All I could say is that the law is that Until they are voted on, they're confidential.
You're talking about specific.
About abatement and exemption applications.
So we're talking about specific applications.
We're talking about applications.
Okay, thank you.
Specific-
No,
Specific. address,
application.
Specific.
We are
address.
talking about.
Specific individual,
applications.
specific property.
And I
And-
think, no.
Not until the votes. are-
That's included, but thank you for telling us that. I appreciate it.
No problem.
So are the people, that the addresses, were they informed and were they able to come to
But
this? meeting?
you're beyond my pay grade. I mean, I don't know. Certainly, I think the board has the right, and from reading even the number I did, there are questions that come up. Procedural questions and that are personal to the things I read.
Fully understand that.
I think,
So I think he's focused on a specific abatement request. Is that what you're saying?
well,
Specific
at any
abatement or
rate,
exemption request
Yes.
Yes.
from General.
No, this is not with regards to the general issue. This is with regards to specific properties that have filed for abatement.
So everybody else is happy.
No problem.
Okay,
With that, I think we can move to vote on the
Okay.
motion.
we got a motion, yeah.
Move to go into executive session.
We'll
Move to
consider
adjourn
it,
this-
yeah. We
Yeah, move
just,
to adjourn the regular-
we want to vote on the motion, period. That's it, right?
Well, no, before, yeah. Move-
Unless there's something
Vote on the
else.
motion, then we'll adjourn and go down.
So all those in favor?
Aye.
And then I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
We have
I
to, adjourn-
thought that
No, you have to adjourn first. I'm sorry.
we have to adjourn the public
we
portion
do,
of the
do
meeting,
we?
Yeah.
and then we
Yeah.
can,
Mr. Chair, if I may assist you in this.
Yes, sir.
This is Tom Alonso. So the motion to go into executive session should have at the end of it, not to return to public session.
It does.
It does have
And then
that.
Okay, then you do not need them. In fact, you do not want the motion to adjourn. Otherwise, you will have been adjourned and not go into executive session. So do not entertain a motion to adjourn. You're going to go right to executive session and adjourn from there.
okay, thank you.
Thank you for the procedure, Tom.
You're welcome.
We're all set to leave.
Yeah.
Yes.